I've heard upwards of 50 or 60 pitches on this movie, you know, from a couple of dozen writers. And some are interesting, some are really bad, you know, ranging from, you know, Michael being on a research vessel out at sea because the government is trying to harness his evil, you know, to use as like a super soldier or something. After the box office success of the Freddy vs. Jason film in 2003, we naturally explored the idea of combining any of the franchise icons that we had internally. One of those ideas, of course, was to do Michael Myers versus Pinhead.
I was kind of stoked by the idea of taking John's, because John was going to direct it. I was going to write it, John was going to direct it. And I called up John. I said, what do you think about this? Because if you don't want to do this, I won't do it. And he said, no, I'll do it.
I think at this point, Michael is still so viable that you don't need to combine him with anyone. You don't need to use that trick to introduce him to a larger audience.
Even after 25 years, Michael Myers shows no sign of falling in popularity. As the films continue, so does he. His popularity an enigma, just as his refusal to die. As the shape defies analysis, an unexplainable monster. It is this mystique that continues to make him a part of the night of Halloween.
The success of the Halloween movies over 25 years beats the shit out of me, Lieutenant. The flight chief ain't here.
Anchor Bay has been distributing the Halloweens for 7 years now, and always it's been one of our top sellers.
Strangely enough, Halloween is one of those few films which is perfect. You wouldn't want to change anything.
So many people were focused on getting the film made and putting all of their efforts into what would show up on the screen. Everyone was on that wavelength.
You know, even though some of the things that have now become kind of movie cliches, like the indestructible killer coming back 3 times, Halloween was where it was done first and best.
Halloween has become an icon. The movies have become an icon, and Michael Myers has become an icon not only because of the screen persona, but because of all the graphics that have accompanied the movie, all the sales, the campaigns, the slicks, the one-sheets, the newspaper ads.
To put your finger on it and to try to define it, I think, is doing a disservice to what it really is.
It gave me a movie career. I tried to point out the irony that in those exploitation movies, I was intelligent, forthright, fought back against adversity.
Probably till the end of time. These movies are going to be on cable. You're going to hear that music. You're going to see those masks going around trick-or-treating. There is no question about it. It is simply part of Americana now.
In 25 years, Halloween's become a vast commercial enterprise, and in no small part, fueled by our movie.
And the fans just want to see, what are the filmmakers going to dream up next? It's us being able to look in a safe way at the dark side of ourselves.
He gets killed every movie 10 different times in 15 different ways, but he keeps coming back.
Much like the killer himself, Halloween seems to never die. People constantly coming up and say they saw the film and they remember when they saw it, when they were kids, or they've seen it on TV. And that is really neat.
I met some people who flew from other states and so on. How can I sit here and fail you? I promise I am going to make it worthwhile. I hope. It's a big burden on me, but I promise I do my best.
As long as Halloween is celebrated, audiences worldwide will find themselves scared of the boogeyman, scared of the dark shadows that lurk in every street and every house, scared of the noises that creep forth from the night, and scared most of all by the monster that stares silently back at them from the screen with an unflinching, murderous gaze.
It's great that we all gathered together for this 25th anniversary of Halloween, and all of us here. It's been great. It's been a great ride. And thanks for everybody, for coming. And happy birthday.
like you to hide your face. Take it off. It hides my ugliness.
I mean, the mask thing was always incredibly important, of course, because that's really what he is more than anything. It's like the character has no face, his face is that mask. So, you know, my thought was to keep it as classic as possible.
I got a call from Rob saying that he wanted me to don the mask of Michael Myers for him. Of course, when Rob calls you, what are you going to say? No? I wanted to bring something a little more to the role than just a walking shape. I feel that it's scarier to know a little bit about what's going on behind the mask than just a mask.
Daig was very important to this movie. And having shot off his stuff first, mostly, then Tyler could see what Daig had done, and they sort of have worked together. So when you watch Tyler, even though he's 6'9", you sort of are picturing Daig's presence inside the mask.
I'm Wayne Toth, and the special makeup effects artist. Doing the Michael Myers mask was a big part of my role in the film, since he's the main character.
Really, the only thing that is basically from the original movie is the look of Michael Myers.
I had an idea in my mind of what it looked like exactly. In talking with Rob while I was working on it, it turned out that was the same picture he always had in his mind.
It's the classic mask and look kind of degenerated. There's so much history behind it that it sort of brings its own baggage.
I had to be really true to what the iconic Michael Myers looks like as I was sculpting it. We started the process of making the mask by doing a life cast on Tyler Mane, plaster mold with the latex poured in. Michael's mask was as important as any other visual piece in the movie. Well, the mask from the original Halloween is long gone. Latex, it's a natural material and it rots, and especially if it's worn a lot and someone's sweating in it, it just accelerates that process. I did two different sculptures. We had a clean version Michael has as a child, a rotted one when he grows up. In order to make sure we were covered all the time, we made duplicate copies of the masks that looked identical, and we painstakingly painted by hand, so every smudge of dirt, everything looks exactly the same.
The funny thing with those masks, people kept asking me if we made several different ones so that were slightly different, so his expression would appear to change. Even our editor was asking me that. But it was always the same mask. Never changed. It's such a weird mask. Depending upon how you light it, sometimes he would look really scary and cold, and sometimes he'd look more sympathetic. It shows what a great job Tyler did as Michael Myers, that he could make people think that this rubber mask was changing expressions when, of course, it wasn't.
I thought working with the mask would be a huge challenge, but the fact that Wayne created such a great mask that can show so many different emotions, it didn't become a challenge.
These are all Michael's masks. Obviously, he likes making masks. Because, I mean, he really has nothing else to do while he's here in the sanitarium. So he just makes masks. This one's cool. Dun dun. Dun dun. Dun dun. Dun dun.
Michael's hobby is making masks. He had masks when he was a kid, wore them all the time. And while he's away in the asylum, that's his hobby continuing, is to make mask after mask after mask. There's one particular one he was saving for the right moment. It almost has a jack-o'-lantern type of look. It's an orange mask.
I'm gonna cut that mask right off your face.
My name is Mary McLeod. I'm the costume designer on Halloween. We start with young Michael Myers. We don't know where Michael switches, but he does have this affinity for this clown costume. You got the costume, and then you got the mask.
Michael Myers' clown mask was found on eBay. We did a search for vintage clown costumes, and this one particular one came up, and it just looked absolutely perfect. And I purchased it for $12.
The thing about it was so old and fragile, the plastic was very brittle, and they only had one. So we duplicated that, and we matched the paint job and everything, and we had actually done a mold of it and vacuum formed the mask. So it looks exactly the same, they're just a little more durable, because if something had happened to that original eBay mask, you'd be out of luck.
Take that damn thing off.
There was a whole slew of real fans, like groups of fanatics. There's websites just about Michael Myers and the mask. So I always had that in mind while I was working on it. So that was where most of the pressure came from. I really had to make sure it basically had the same look. For someone like myself, growing up with horror films, it was a big deal to redo the classic Michael Myers mask from Halloween.
Cut! One of the things that attracted me to Halloween, too, is the mask never ages, so it's as if you're remaking the film, but the star of the original film hasn't aged, and you're working with him again. It's so funny, because as soon as that mask appeared, it was like nothing had changed. In a way, Michael Myers as a character had become so iconic that I thought they stopped paying even attention to him in the movies. What I set out to do is take that character that was once terrifying and make it terrifying again. And I think we have. I talked to John Carpenter right before the movie started. Right before the news of the movie had got announced. I called John, just so he'd be the first person to know. Just out of respect, I thought that he should know. But as far as him being creatively involved anyway, we never had any discussions like that. I mean, I don't really think that, his only advice was, hey, go for it. Make it your movie. I mean, it would have been very easy to watch Halloween and copy it shot for shot. I mean, because it already exists, it's very easy to do that. But that would be completely pointless, because that movie's already there. So you have to do something that's a totally different, for good or for bad, it's a totally different experience. It becomes like a weird phrase, like a Rob Zombie movie. Even when I was making the movie, the studio kept saying, like, make it more Rob Zombie movie. I don't know what that means. I can't talk about myself as if I'm someone else.
Rob is an amazing artist. He has very, very strong, vivid imagery in his mind, and he wants that to be translated in a very direct way.
So start out here wider and just keep creeping in until you get to, basically your head's here. So, you don't even know how different you see things from other people. It's almost like someone has to tell me why it's that. Because I'm not always sure. I don't know. I mean, I like everything to be kind of raw. I like everything to be edgy. I think 75 is better.
75, please, James.
So I want to play a little quieter and less silly.
That's so scary.
I mean, I just look at movies that I love. Like, what would work for Taxi Driver? Take the same ideas that would work for that and apply it to this. You have characters that you want to watch and that you follow, and situations that are real, so they become terrifying or compelling.
The films that we talked about in terms of the look for this film weren't horror films at all. They were like 21 Grams, they were like Amores Perros, they were like Larry Clark films.
John Carpenter is a very